Hi all, Hipper here. So today we've made it to the Amalfi Tier 7 cruiser, and I think this ship is a lot like the Predator. Uh, Primarily because of the rolling smoke that just allows it to, wade into the middle of camp, just like a Predator does, and then rip out a few keels of enemy ships and then disappear again. And I love this ability here of Amalfi's, and it's probably the best part of the ship because, again, like a Predator, it doesn't have a sonar. So I guess that's the same as covering up with mud and sitting still in front of this thing here, and it won't be able to see you. I guess at least that's my analogy here, and you can agree or not. But yeah, in my world, Amalfi is the Predator. So basically what I love to pull off in the ship here is what I'm going to do here is pretty much just to steam into the cap, because knowing I have my rolling smoke, I can get out of pretty much any situation. Doing this in any other cruiser, like you have to be a little bit more careful, and you probably have to stop around the island here inside the cap. But in Amalfi you can just keep going, because if things get too heated, just pop your rolling smoke, stop firing, and run away basically, and fire a few sea mine torps that this ship here is equipped with while you're running. And yeah, what can I say? It's a lot of fun doing that. And these torps here are just long range as well, so they're good fun. Very slow, but good fun. So right about now we are about to give this little Le Fantasque destroyer here inside the cap a very nasty surprise.
Torpedoes dead ahead.
So we've caught this destroyer here with his pants down, and with an agile build you can dodge any torpedo at this distance here. And I am approaching this destroyer here nearly 40 knots, and he's used his two banks on this side, so he is pretty much defenseless now. So we're going to turn into him and simply not allow him to escape. And then we're going to take him out in the most humiliating way possible in a destroyer, and that is being hit by slow Amalfi torps. So we're just going to rip out his keel here and keep it as a souvenir. Of course you can't see that, but promise me it happens. And then we are going to escape, like I said before. Now the smoke isn't really useful here because I'm still spotted, because I've been firing my guns, but it still helps. And now we're going to use our agile build on this ship here, and just pretty much wiggle our way out of trouble here. And I'm running a full rudder build on this ship here at the moment, so it's down to 2.4 seconds, which is quite impressive. I mean, you're still missing the sonar, and in some cases you would give your right hand for that sonar, but you do have your rolling smoke, so I guess it's just a different ship with a different play style. But really, the lack of sonar is a bit of a problem in my mind, and that's how destroyers can really trick you, unless you take the initiative like I did before with the Fantasque, and doesn't let him escape and get out of your guaranteed detection radius, because then you really have no defense against a destroyer then. So by hitting like this kind of a hit and run here, then if there are too many enemies, like there is in this case here. I'm simply just running away, waiting to fall off detection. First I get in a few shots in defense here because I don't want this guy to cap. But when the situation is right, I'll fall off detection and then I'll hit straight in again. And Amalfi goes like 43 knots or something like that. So it's really quick to disengage and re-engage. You don't have to go like 32 knots like most cruisers, unless you have an agile build on them. So you can get from one side of the map to the other in like pretty fast. It's not a problem. And not like Martel, for example, where you need the speed boost to hit 45 knots. Amalfi almost hits it constantly. So like, don't underestimate the repositioning potential of this ship here. It's quite good. And just like a predator, it escapes into the jungle. So the enemies did manage to cap here, although I kept resetting as much as I could, but there were simply too many of them. So now I'll just have to wait to fall off detection, or go into my predator camouflage, and then I'm just going to head in again and try to see if I can't wrestle this cap away from the enemies. So other than the lack of sonar, I also think that the reload on the Italian cruisers is just a smidgen too long. Cut off a second, perhaps a second and a half, and I think the output will just be so much better, and people will enjoy playing the ships more. I think that's more important than actually introducing SAP into the game. Of course, I have no problem with SAP, but it's not the primary concern with the Italian cruisers. I think the reload is too slow. But of course, if you introduce SAP, the reload is probably okay. So it's a bit of a balance there. So let's see what happens in the future. I'm sure Wargaming has some plans for the Italian cruisers, because right now it is a very underutilized line, and there's really no point having it in the game if you don't at least make them a little bit more competitive, I think. Not that they aren't competitive, they certainly are, especially Amalfi.
Come on in. All Painless is waiting.
So this is where we predator up using our stealth. Now this rolling smoke here is not meant to be like sitting in forever, and it just gives you that 1 or 2 seconds you need to to turn and just protect yourself from being too vulnerable. That's all I need. Just like I did there, I just need 1 second where I can actually see the enemy ship, and then I pop the smoke, and then I'm hidden for 1 or 2 seconds, and that's when I'm turning with this fast rudder build here, and that works well.
Enemy cruiser destroyed.
It happened. I saw it. You saw what? I saw it. She says the jungle. It just came alive and took him.
So I guess it's not really the jungle that came alive and took this Alaska here, but it was more like the sea came alive and took him, I guess. But you get the point. So it did take me a while here, but using predator tactics and hit and run, and just not taking more risks than I absolutely have to, I have now managed to rid this cap here of reds, and I'm now able to cap it unless someone else shows up and tries to put an end to my plans here. But I'm still at 2/3 health, and I can still take a lot of chances in this game here, and I still have a smoke left, and I still have a heal left. So I'm still quite a threat. And with only 5 minutes left, we're looking pretty safe here. We are way ahead on points, and also on ships for that matter. And actually, Amalfi is kind of a curious case of a cruiser here, because if you're first dabbling into agile cruisers, I would suggest making Amalfi your first ship, exactly because of the rolling smoke. Because if you mess up, if you like rush in somewhere and there's a battleship you didn't account for and you are broadside on, simply just pop your smoke, and it's your get out of jail free card. It really is. It allows you to make huge mistakes in the ship here and still come out on top. Of course, you don't have your sonar. Keep that in mind, and you're probably not going to set any damage records in this ship here, because unless you can get into torp range and get some hefty damage that way, the reload is just a little bit slow to get amazing damage gains. But in the end, damage doesn't really matter that much. I've done okay in this game here, but really most of my XP comes from taking out that destroyer in the beginning, and obviously also from capping. And I just miss out on this guy here because, like I said before, that slow reload, it just really handicaps Amalfi in these destroyer battles here, because that was an easy kill, but I was sitting there waiting for my reload forever. So I should have been more patient and not fired the first salvo. But what can I say? I'm not the most patient player. Now I'm very excited to see if we ever get a legendary Italian cruiser like Venezia, because that thing looks absolutely lethal. On PC it's nasty, and on Legends I would love to have it. It just looks like a crazy cruiser. So I haven't heard anything from Wargaming about legendary Venezia, but I'm assuming it'll come at some point. Not anytime soon, I'm sure, but perhaps next year, who knows. That would definitely be an interesting ship. I think honestly it's just what legendary tier needs, because there are no real agile cruisers at that tier, and really we need any sort of cruiser at that tier, because Alaska, it's really half battleship, half cruiser. I know it has a radar, but that's about it. And Worcester is like another American cruiser. There's no diversity in the cruisers at legendary tier, and honestly, we really need that. Now I kind of understand on Wargaming that Minotaur is coming sooner or later to legendary tier, and that's a good thing. I just think that thing is going to be very, very squishy, if judging from PZ is any guide, but I guess we'll find out soon enough. So this was a showcase of how I think Amalfi is a predator in this game here. So by going 43 knots and having that rolling smoke, Amalfi can just sneak its way into pretty much any camp and take out the destroyers right under the nose of the battleships, like I did in the beginning. And yeah, that is the Predator style. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you out there.